Today I fucked up by getting tested to donate a kidney to my wife. I decided to get tested to see if I could donate my kidney to my wife of 6 years. We have 2 kids together, 4 female and 2 male. My wife got sick just after our son was born and now is in need of a kidney transplant. We checked with her relatives and none were a match or a viable donor. Last week, I got tested. I knew it would be a long shot, so I decided to get tested to see if I could donate. I got a call the other day saying that I was a match. The doctor then said something about wanting to do additional testing due to some information from the HLA tissue test results. I didn't think much of it and agreed. Then the results came in and I was shocked and confused. He explained that because of how DNA information is passed down through generations, a parent to a child could have at least a 50% match. Siblings could have a 0 to 100% match. It was rare to have a high match as husband and wife. I asked, what does that mean? He said that my wife and I have a, quote, abnormally high match percentage. Long story short, we're related. No, I was put up for adoption before I was born, placed into a family that moved across the country. I knew I was adopted, but we didn't have any information about my bio family. It was a closed adoption. I met my wife by chance 8 years ago. I was on a trip from work and she was working at the site I went to. We worked together for a week. We exchanged numbers and kept in touch. I was sent back there 3 more times that year and each time we became closer. I was given the opportunity to be transferred out there in a new higher paying position in a different department as hers. The rest is history. I don't know what to do moving forward, but I know it may be wrong. She is my wife and the mother of our kids. This post is probably going to get removed, but it is all true. We do have an edit. Look at the name, which his username is throwaway wife is my HS. Call me dumb, but it's not clicking right now. All of my family is from my adopted parents. My parents adopted me 2 minutes after I was born. Their name is on my birth certificate. They have not told me anything about my bio parents, and I don't have any info. Her family is not a match as stated above. Most of her family has low match potential or can't donate due to medical or other reasons. I am 2 years older than my wife. I do know that my wife was born when her parents were late teens. So it kind of makes you think her parents are also his parents and they had 2 accidental pregnancies, but because he's older and they were even younger teens, put him up for adoption. What's HS?
Hereditary sister.
Here are the story times of my mother's obsession with my best friends. My mother is a huge part of my life, so she's like very involved with like my friends and I. She just like knows them, loves them, kind of like that. But this woman takes it to a different degree, of course. She's very vocal about the ones that she loves and extremely vocal about the ones that she like doesn't really like at all. The first friend my mother is obsessed with of mine is Tim. Guys, Tim's like one of my best friends. If you know Tim, but Sunday, what Alexa? Sunday, I was on FaceTime with Tim and I added my mom to the FaceTime and we were all just talking. And then after that FaceTime, my mom has been harassing me because she's visiting in a couple weeks. She's been harassing me about inviting Tim to lunch. She's like, I need to see Tim when I'm out there. I'm like, Mom, I get it. You'll fucking see Tim when you're out there. And we love to joke that Tim is one of my mom's like aborted sons because like Tim is genuinely like my brother and he acts so much like my mother. Like you would think they're related. And I just know we're all going to be at lunch together and they're gonna be drinking their mimosas, laughing, probably like making fun of me, to be fucking honest. My mom is obsessed with seeing Tim when she's out here. She's like, Liv, I better fucking see Tim when I'm out there. And she was texting Sissy too, like, I need to see Tim. And Sissy's like, why the fuck am I orchestrating this? Like, you're gonna see Tim. The woman loves Tim. She literally swipes up on every single one of his Instagram stories. That's her big thing to do with all my friends. She swipes up on their Instagram stories and will send like heart eyes and stuff like that. She fucking loves to do that. The main person she does that to is my roommate. She fucking loves my roommate. Anytime I'm on the phone with my mom and my roommate's nearby, my mom's like, let me talk to her. And I'm like, Mom, what the? It's literally like 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. She's good. But my mother will call me and she'll be like, oh my God, I saw her Instagram photo. She looks gorgeous. Tell her she looks gorgeous. And I'm like, Mom, just you fucking tell her yourself she looks gorgeous. But like literally anytime my roommate posts on Instagram, my mom is like, oh my God, please tell her she looks gorgeous. That was a gorgeous dress. Where'd she get the dress? And I'm like, okay, Mom. But you want to know who she loves even more than my roommate? My roommate's boyfriend. My roommate's boyfriend, let's call him Matt. Matt and my mom met one time. They had a 10-minute conversation, barely. I was there during this conversation. I swear to God, she was flirting with him the whole time. I'm not kidding. She was flirting with him. They were talking about Milwaukee and my mom's like, I love Milwaukee. I'm like, Mom, when the fuck did you start loving Milwaukee? I've known you my whole goddamn life and we've never even spoke about Milwaukee, but now you're talking to Matt and you fucking love Milwaukee? That's really weird. My mother calls me at least once a week and asks me about Matt. And I'm like, Mom, I'm not fucking dating Matt. Like, Matt and I are not that close. Like, he's great. He's probably doing amazing. She's like, how is Matt doing? I'm like, he's good. And she's like, how's your roommate? I'm like, Mom, they're good. Like, when they celebrated their anniversary, my mom was like their biggest fucking fan. My mom loves Matt. For a while, my mom was like, Matt should date Sissy. I'm like, Mom, Matt is dating my roommate. Like, you can't say those things. She's like, I know, I'm just kidding. But imagine if they did. I'm like, Mom, it doesn't feel as if you're fucking joking. My mother will call me often and just be like, Matt is such a good boy. Like, he's such a nice boy, Olivia. And I'm like, you gather this from a 10-minute conversation with him. Like, he really is like a very nice guy. But I'm like, Mom, can you fucking relax about Matt for 10 seconds? I'm so tired of our weekly talks being about Matt. The next friend my mother is obsessed with of mine, and I think this one is going to be my favorite, my best friend Katie. So my mom and Katie do like the same thing for work. Katie's she's like just graduated, is a registered dietitian, and my mom's like a personal trainer, and my mom loves like health and they both fucking love health and fitness, right? But Katie has a way more modern, healthy take on health and fitness, whereas my mom's a fucking almond mom. So they will get in low-key fights, and I think it's like my favorite thing in the entire world, where like my mom will be like, if you put syrups in your coffee, you're gonna die. Like, it's so fucking horrible for you. And Katie's like, I don't know what the fuck she's talking about. Everything in moderation. Everything's fine in moderation. She's like, it's a balance. It's a balance. And my mom's like, no. So they will get in low-key fights about it. Like, I'll be on the phone with my mom and she'll say something and Katie's with me and Katie's like rolling her eyes in the background, and I'm like, I know, she gets like this, like, it's my fucking mom, like, she gets like this. Or Katie will like prove her wrong on a topic, and my mom will be like, oh, well, okay, whatever. Like, I can see my mother getting heated when Katie gets right. And on the flip side, my mom's like, I'm sending Katie this article, like, tell Katie to read this article. And they'll go back and forth about like fitness things and like health and wellness things. And I think it's important because Katie is teaching my mom a lot about how to not be a fucking almond mom anymore. Is my mom listening? Like, no, honestly, probably not. But my mom loves that Katie does what my mom does. And Katie posts like a bunch of recipes online and stuff, and my mom's like, Olivia, like, you need to make those recipes. Katie makes gorgeous recipes. I'm like, okay, Mom, give me 5 fucking minutes and I will. My mom loves Katie and will call me weekly and be like, Katie is so gorgeous. She's so, so beautiful. And I'm like, I know, Mom. Are you calling to tell me how fucking gorgeous Katie is, or do you want to know how my day is as well? Like, let me know, bitch. Let me fucking know. But my mom will call often and be like, how's Katie doing? I'm like, Mom, fucking call her yourself. Like, she'll answer the phone. Just call her yourself. But the friends I have that my mom doesn't like are so fucking obvious because she tells me she doesn't like them. She literally does this. She's like, I'm not a very big fan of that girl, Olivia. Like, I'm not a huge fan of her. We're on like the flip side, if we're talking about Tim, she loses her fucking mind. So I'm like, okay. And she's very vocal about the one she does not like.
It's not a draft. I think I owe y'all a full update. We're gonna recap and do a story time on the past couple of days and how they've been a shit show for me. Saturday night, me and Walt went on a date. Both got food poisoning from shrimp. Thank God I'm already an oversharer because that was a humbling experience. It was coming out everywhere. Tuesday, I was scheduled for my breast augmentation. I was told my arrival time was 9:30 a.m. I was a little worried because of the food poisoning, because if I was still throwing up, stitching would be a bitch, but I was feeling better by Tuesday. I was told not to eat or drink anything, like even water, after midnight the night before surgery, but I was getting over food poisoning, so I hadn't really had anything in my stomach for days prior. Even when I got my blood work done, she was like, you just look very dehydrated. And I was like, I can't keep anything down. And now that I'm better, I have to fast because I'm getting surgery. Checked in at 9:30, 10:30 rolls around, 11:30 rolls around. We were watching people come in, check in for their appointments, get taken back and leave. And we were still sitting in the waiting room. If my boyfriend wasn't with me, I probably would have sat there all day long because I'm too afraid to speak up and I hate confrontation. He made me go up to the front and just ask for an update. And when I went up, like, oh yeah, you're Terry? And I was like, no, I'm Christy. What I said when I came in. And they're like, hold on, we'll have someone come speak to you. And I was like, okay. So I sat back down, waited a little longer, and finally, damn near noon, someone came and spoke to me. She explained that something got mixed up. She doesn't know why, nobody told me or what happened, but my appointment time was not, my surgery was not scheduled till 4 p.m. I told her I have it written in text. I had no confirmation. I spoke to the anesthesiologist the night before. Literally she went over with me not to eat or drink after midnight. I was never told 4 p.m. I was sitting in the waiting room all morning and nobody told me that. She was like, well, just come back here at 3. Keep in mind it's already noon. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, do you live far? I'm like, no, but I'm starving. And she's like, you still can't eat. And y'all remember, I'm recovering from food poisoning, so I'm fucking starving. I literally felt like I hadn't eaten in days because I hadn't been able to keep anything down and my body was finally okay. And then to just be like hearing this and that I have to wait longer for a surgery that I was like going in ready and just sitting there made me nervous. And I started off the day so excited, and then my anxiety was just building up, and I was just like, I don't know, my whole mind like shifted, my mindset. I went home and my stomach was in so much pain, but I thought it was just because I was hungry and just because of like all the situation that happened. I think I was just getting nervous and overwhelmed, whatever. We went back at 3 like they told us. She took me right back. I peed, did the pregnancy test, and then I was told the anesthesiologist would come in and talk to me, and then soon the surgeon would come and do markups on me. Now it's 4 p.m. Now it's nearly almost 5 p.m. So almost 2 hours in there. And Walt was getting so impatient that it was like scaring me because I just felt, I don't know, I was just so anxious and overwhelmed, and like I felt bad because he asked off work and it's 5 p.m. now. We're gonna be in traffic. If I went back into surgery, it would be nighttime when I got out. We could hear people walking around and just saying like, bye, have a good day, and locking up, and we were like, is anyone even here? Like, what is happening? It was just like weird. I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but basically I took the thing off, I put my clothes back on, and I sat and waited, and I was like, we were ready to walk out. I couldn't go into surgery, be put under, like knowing that I was just in this weird mood, and like my whole day, I didn't want to be in a bad mood. That's not me. Like I didn't want to be like that, and I just was so, I had this terrible feeling in my stomach. We went home and we rescheduled for Thursday. Obviously I still want this done. I don't know where the mix-up was. I really don't think it was anything on the surgeon. She came and spoke to me, and I really do like her. I don't know if it was the front desk or what, but it was not the doctor. You guys can have your own theories, but they apologized, and the surgeon sat down and explained to us what had happened. So she had a surgery prior. She doesn't know about the time mix-up, but she had a surgery prior, and sometimes when you open things up, you can go in and things aren't what they expected, whatever. I really don't blame her for any of it. And I know that if I would have known that my appointment was at 4 and I showed up at 4, and even if I had to wait till 5, like I would have gone through with it. It was just after a whole day of that, and then the situation before, and me being so dehydrated and hungry, I just felt it was only right in my gut that we leave. We went straight to Zaxby's because I was just starving. It's all I could think about. I just like couldn't even like process what just happened. Down to 3 chocolate chip cookies, a grilled cheese, a large fry, and 2 nibblers. That's not even that much food to me, honestly. I feel like I'd gone days without eating, and then to have that and like binge it all at once was fucking terrible for me. That was my first mistake. Zaxby's was just the first restaurant we saw when we got out, and I was fucking starving, you guys. Well, I don't know if it was from the food poisoning. I don't know what it was, but after eating that, you guys, I was in hell. I've been tossing and turning all night long. I had to throw up again last night. It was up till like 2 in the morning. I couldn't even look at my phone. Stomach even is still in pain. I don't know. Walt feels fine. I think it was from fasting for days and then just eating all that at once. I don't fucking know. Regardless, the whole situation is shitty, but I guess it's for the best because my stomach is so fucked up. And when I would have came out of surgery, I would have done the same thing. And to have like boobs, like an elephant sitting on my chest plus throwing up, and I don't know, it was bad. Like my stomach is so fucked even right now. That's why I like don't feel good. I think until my stomach gets back to normal, I need to stick to eating like yogurt and like light breakfasts and maybe like eggs and stuff. But because of everything that happened, they just moved my surgery to 6 a.m. They moved everyone's back tomorrow, and I'm the first one tomorrow morning, so I go right in. And they even tried to like surprise me with Jimmy John's, but Jimmy John's doesn't deliver to my house, so instead they surprised me with Mo, which I have all over my mouth. It just got to my door, and they pushed everyone's surgeries back. So they do feel really bad about the whole situation. And again, I don't think it's the surgeon's fault at all. Like she is Wonder Woman. She gets up at 3 a.m. I can't even imagine. Like her job is 10 times, not even in comparison to what I do. As for my stomach, I don't know what the fuck is up with it. I know it'll be fine by tomorrow, but my whole family has stomach problems. Like my mom literally, I get it from my mom. It's so bad, but so yeah, first thing tomorrow morning, I'll have tits. I'm gonna spend today just resting, getting my stomach back to normal. More comfortable with Thursday anyways. I feel like everything happens for a reason. So let's just have positive vibes. I'll keep you guys updated. I'm sorry, yesterday I literally was unwell. Still love you, Zaxby's. And I'm positive that tomorrow at this time, I will have a new rack. I promise. We ain't doing this again, babe.
Caught my husband making out with his male coworker. You didn't know he was gay? My husband and I have been married for 6 years. Now I know why he never wanted to have kids, you think? We both met in college, and back then I knew he was bisexual. We got engaged 2 years later after graduation, and everything was perfect. Him being bisexual never bothered me, and it never made me feel insecure up until a month ago. Some new guy started working at his job, and all he could do was talk about his new coworker. I was actually happy for my husband because he found a friend at work. Every single day, he would come home talking about his new bestie, which means that he couldn't stop thinking about him even when he was home. This is around the time that he started hanging out with his coworker outside of work. My husband would be gone for hours because every time they'd hang out, they'd go rock climbing or some sort of activity that required them to be outside for hours. My husband would always come home really tired and always had an excuse as to why he never wanted to have sex. Oh man, I'm sorry, babe. Slowly but surely, he would always be making plans every single weekend to hang out with his coworker. And whenever I asked him to hang out with me, he'd give me attitude and tell him that I was giving him zero freedom. The more he'd snap at me, the more suspicious I would get. He one day came home from one of his quote-unquote hikes with a huge hickey on his neck. And when I asked him about it, he told me that it was a bruise. On top of everything, he's a terrible liar. I have to look what I'm doing with eyeliner, sorry. That's when I knew right away that my husband was this guy. The more questions I would ask him, the angrier he would get. This is when I went into full investigative mode. I began following him to his job, and I started following him on his lunch breaks. I knew I needed to be patient so that I could catch them in the act. There was sexual tension between them. And this is where it gets interesting. Okay, give me a sec. Their routine consisted of going to lunch, going back to work for 2 hours, and then getting off work both at the same time. They would both get into their respective cars and drive to an empty parking lot in front of a Walmart. The second time I saw them pull up at the Walmart, I couldn't help myself. I got out of my car, started recording, and caught them in the act. My husband and his coworker were full on making out, grabbing each other's crotches. My husband's coworker got out of his car and ran to his car. The man ran away. The man was too stunned to speak. Then my husband did the unexpected. He locked the car doors, didn't let me in, and drove away. Oh my God, he seriously straight up didn't care. He just left you there? I drove back home expecting to find my husband, but he was not there. 2 hours later, I'm sitting on the couch waiting for my husband to come home, only for him to send me a text message that he was moving in with his coworker. So I did what any reasonable wife would do. I called his mother. His mother is able to control him with the snap of her fingers. Mama's boy much? Who knows what she said to him, but he came home 20 minutes later with his tail in between his legs. He told me he broke off the relationship with his coworker and that he's even willing to quit his job. Puchica. Esto está difícil. I don't know whether or not to believe him. This is the first time, as far as I know, that he's cheated. The only way I told him I would take him back is if he agrees to have children with me. Ready for my 2 cents? I would say leave him. He might do this again. You do not want to have children with somebody you can't trust.
Today I messed up by getting my girlfriend high. I, 24 male, and my girlfriend, 23 female, were hanging out at home as we usually do during the week. Both go to work, have jobs, come home, and spend time together. I'm an avid 420 consumer. Her, not so much. But it's Monday night, not much going on, and she decides she wants to smoke with me. I have different types of wax that I like, and one is clear distillate, which is around 96% THC. So, I lay both containers on the table, get a movie going, and go get some snacks. Her, trying to be sexy, gets naked and takes a Rick Ross-sized dab of the distillate. Terrible idea. I tell her she has about 4 minutes before she's immobilized, and sure enough, 2 minutes later, she's in the bathroom puking. I bring her water and do all the necessary things, but she asks me to leave the bathroom as to not see her puking her guts out. So, I go back to the living room and watch TV, checking in once in a while. This whole time I never noticed her phone sitting on the couch until she started getting numerous texts and Snapchat notifications. My curiosity gets the best of me, and I look and she has about 3 male coworkers on Snapchat that are all texting her after hours. Odd, sure, but I blow it off as work friends, until I looked in her memories. One particular coworker, we'll call him Greg, has a bunch of selfies in her memories, some with her, some without. So I open their messages, and oh my God. Staring back at me is an exchange of nude photos and even videos that he had recorded of them and sent to her for keeping. You can imagine the context of such videos. I'm heartbroken, sure, but I've been cheated on and I knew I could get through it. What horrifies me is the size of this guy's D. I've never seen anything so massive. It looked like a half-used roll of paper towels. One of the videos consisted of her giving the dude head, and she could barely get the tip in her mouth. Seriously, this dude isn't hung like a horse. Horses are hung like him. I'm so ashamed and embarrassed that this has been going on, and I've actually come into her work and had conversations with these people who are fucking my girlfriend.
Am I the asshole for expecting my 18-year-old to come on our family vacation? Every year I take my kids, 18 male, 17 male, 15 female, to the beach for the 4th of July for a camping trip. We have done this every year, starting when my 18-year-old was 8 months old. I loved it so much that when their mother and I divorced, I made sure I got the 4th of July holiday every year in the custody agreement so I could continue the tradition just because I love beach camping so much. Last week, my stepson, 13, was talking about the upcoming camping trip, and my 18-year-old said he would not be going. I told him he absolutely must go. It's tradition, and it's court-ordered custody agreement. He told me he's 18 and will have graduated from high school by then, so he does not care about the custody agreement, and then said that it expired for him when he turned 18 a few months ago. Well, it doesn't say anything in the agreement about it expiring, so I think maybe his mom told him that when he turned 18 a few months ago. I told him the agreement is court-ordered and he needs to be with me for the trip, just like every year. He said no, and that he was going to take a graduation trip with his friends to Disneyland. I told him he's not allowed to go to Disneyland with his friends because this is my court-ordered time with him.
Man.
He said he would not be coming to see me anymore after he graduates, and that he's only coming for now for his brother and sister, and that I can't make him go. I told him if he doesn't come on the trip, I will take his mother to court for contempt against the custody agreement. He called me an abusive asshole who doesn't understand how the age of majority works. He said I could post this here because the internet would agree with him. So internet, am I the asshole?
I just got back from the gym. That's why I'm so extremely red. So I don't need to hear shit in the comments about, bitch, like, you're so red, you're so... I'm aware that I look like a fucking tomato right now. I'm aware. I don't know what the fuck is in my water this morning or my coffee, but I'm feeling like a low-key bitch today. Oh my God, I just got the hydro grip in my fucking eye. Anyways, I low-key almost pushed this man down the stairs in the gym today. Okay, like not really. You know when you're in a rush and some reason, like this man was taking up the whole fucking staircase, guys. It took everything. I mean, I was like, my intrusive thoughts were like, Livy, push him. Like just fucking push him. I don't know why. But I'm gonna blame that one on Mercury retrograde, just fucking with my OCD heavy. But like, my intrusive thoughts were like, push this motherfucker out of the way right now, Livy. Like, you don't have time to deal with that. I was like, oh my God, like, inner Livy, chill. Like, that was really fucked up. I have this toxic trait where I'll be FaceTiming someone, and I just love to add so many people into the call. Sunday, I was FaceTiming Tim, and I'm like, let me add my mom in. And then I'm like, let me add my sister in. Then I'm like, let me add one of my best friends in. And then I'm like, let me add my sister's ex-boyfriend to the call. Listen, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me, but I was like, this is like the funniest thing ever. Like, let me just add him to the call. I have not spoken to that man in months, neither has she, but I was like, this is like gonna be really funny if he answers, because it's just like me, Tim, my mom, one of my best friends, and my sister is gonna be like, what the fuck, why am I added to this group FaceTime? I add him, he answers. My mom is so excited because my mom loves our ex-boyfriends, and we really don't know why, but my mom fucking loves all of our ex-boyfriends. I'm gonna post a screenshot of how excited she was on my Instagram story, because the woman was thrilled when he was in the call. He quickly hung up, but I know you guys are like, Livy, what the fuck? That's so fucked up that you did that. Like, your sister must have been pissed. No, you guys, you forget, my sister knows who I am as a woman. Like, I'm just this type of bitch. It's like, let's keep our Sunday spicy. Like, she wasn't mad whatsoever. She texted him and was like, never answer a FaceTime from Livy. He was like, I know, my friends answered it. It was an accident. And I'm like, okay, so like the fact that they already know like never to answer a FaceTime from me is a little fucked up, but like I get it, because I'm adding everyone's exes to the fucking call. Sometimes I forget that I tell the internet so much, because like people will come up to me and be like, oh my God, like, and say something that I've said, like a story time that I've said. I'm like, how the fuck do they know that about me? Like, how the fuck do they know that? And then I'm like, oh my God, I literally told the internet that. Like, but I'm just like forgetting all the things I say, because I'm really out here telling you guys a lot, but in my head, it doesn't feel like I'm telling that many people, because I don't know, you guys like feel like my best friends, and I'm like, let's just like talk shit for a minute together, and then it like will come up in conversation. I'm like, how the fuck did they know that? How the fuck did they know that? And it's like, babe, you literally just did a 2-part story time on that. How do you forget? Like, but I just forget so easily, because I just feel like we're chit-chatting.
By the asshole for not telling my brother my girlfriend plays tennis. I, 25 female, have been dating my girlfriend, 29 female, for a year and a half. My family never had a problem with my sexual orientation, and they adore my girlfriend. However, she's a lawyer and pretty professional with most people. So those who don't know her well take her for a person who only knows how to work and nothing else. She doesn't usually correct anyone, but she is good at a lot of things. My brother, 28 male, and I have always had a kind of rivalry going on. He was the golden child and still loves rubbing things in my face. It is mostly playful, but it gets very disturbing at times. Ever since I started dating my girlfriend, things have escalated a little bit. He would find the smallest, dumbest mistake I make and turn it into a huge issue. We were on vacation with my extended family, including uncles, cousins, etc. And my girlfriend was also with us. There was a tennis court, and my brother started challenging everyone to a mini tournament. My girlfriend is an excellent tennis player. She plays tennis 3 days a week, but she was talking to my dad, so she said she'd rather pass. He wasn't having it, but I talked my brother out of it and said my girlfriend wasn't interested. After a few games, my brother came after her and started jokingly teasing her about being scared to play. My girlfriend accepted the challenge and destroyed him on the court. Literally. Everyone was cheering for her, and he lost the game. My girlfriend didn't even celebrate her win and said it wasn't fair to my brother because he was playing with someone at a much higher level. He later told me I was an absolute asshole for allowing him to make a fool out of himself. He said I told him she wasn't interested and that he thought I meant she didn't know how to play.
Your fault.
I still don't know what his issue is, but I kind of feel guilty after he lost so badly. Should I have told him my girlfriend was a pro? Priest broke confession seal and told husband I cheated. I cheated on my husband 3 years ago while traveling for work. It was a one-night stand and we didn't exchange numbers or keep in contact. I don't even know his last name. Until last month, I've never told anyone about this event. At the time I cheated, I didn't really care because my marriage was rocky and I felt unappreciated. But my husband and I reconnected during quarantine and I started to feel extremely guilty.
Yeah.
Last month, I thought I would try going to confession with my parish priest. He said I needed to tell my husband husband as a part of my penance. I wasn't really sure how to do that, so I've sat on it. Last weekend, I came home to my husband throwing all of my stuff out of the bedroom and trying to kick me out of the house. He knows everything. Apparently, the priest followed up to see if I'd told my husband, and when my husband said he didn't understand what the priest was talking about, he told my husband about the affair. My whole world is exploding because I thought confession was supposed to be private. Does the priest have any kind of liability or responsibility? I'm in Maryland.
Okay.
Parents, has anyone ever dated your child and changed them drastically? A couple years ago my daughter started dating a boy who told her that he was adopted. Okay. Then he said he was from France and that he'd only lived in the States a couple years. I asked if he spoke another language and she said no. Warning bells. There were other little inconsistencies in the story, and I hadn't even met the boy yet. I did eventually meet him. He was different. Just things he said, and didn't add up. I didn't trust him. Every time I saw him, or heard about him, alarm bells went off. But it wasn't like I could tell her to stop dating him. That would just make things worse. Then my daughter started spending most nights in her room. I rarely saw her. Rarely got her to say more than a few words. Her grades started slipping a bit as she was an honor roll student before this. Not much, but enough to notice. She became argumentative and secretive. Then one day my boyfriend and I went over to his house with my other 2 children to watch movies and hang out. The 16-year-old stayed home to finish her homework. I never had a problem with any of my children being home alone before, so I was okay with it. But something she texted me during the night set off warning bells and my boyfriend cut our night short. We walked in and found them half clothed. I called her out and took him home. First time I met his parents was me walking up to their door and saying, "Do you know where your son has been?" He had been ignoring their calls all night and they had been about to call the police. A week later his mom shows up to apologize. She goes through his list of lies: adoption, foreign country, refugee. All lies. Then she says that he told his mom that the night was all my daughter's idea. She begged him to come over, and she forced his clothes off. My daughter was really mad. But she loved him. So she went back to him, but she could only see him at school. Skip ahead a few months, my daughter is getting more depressed. More argumentative. She's trying anything to spend time with this boy, and I am doing all I can to discourage it, or supervise it without making it worse. At my wit's end, I snooped. I don't care what other people think about snooping, I was worried about my daughter. I was right to do so. I read through some texts and it mentioned her hurting herself. Worse, she harmed because the boy she was apparently dating decided not to speak to her at all that day. She was so depressed that she did that herself and yelled at him, "See, I love you so much I bleed for you." Things were messed up. She was depressed, contemplating taking her own life, hurting herself, and I just don't know what else. I couldn't talk to her because she kept saying, "You always make it about you, I'm not you." But she was wrong. I'd been married to her father, an emotionally and mentally abusive man who berated me for 15 years to the point that I almost jumped off a building just to end the pain. I felt so worthless, and so useless. But I escaped. And now I was watching my little girl go through the same thing. Her father rejected her, just like my father rejected me, and this boy was giving her attention but only when it suited him, just like my husband did to me. It was the same pattern all over again. I honestly don't remember why they finally broke up. I think he broke up with her because she wouldn't put out. The boy stalked her for a little while, but we managed to get that to end too. Then my daughter started going to a therapist. In front of the therapist I finally told my daughter what I had hidden from her and her siblings all those years. Their father abused me, and I almost ended myself because of it. During therapy she finally understood what I'd been trying to tell her, that the boy was abusive and none of it was her fault. When have you witnessed pure evil? My father. He was not a good person. My oldest brother, his first son, was quite literally a genius. The sort of kid that ends up in high school before he's a teenager, that graduates college before he can drive a car, and he expected that from the rest of his kids. Everything I was allowed to read was way above my age level: technical manuals, research papers and case studies, Lord of the Rings, War, and Peace, stuff like that. I managed it, somehow. My sister wasn't so lucky. She struggled a lot, was yelled at because she was a 3-year-old but couldn't make it through the alphabet by herself. She couldn't add numbers. She couldn't really do anything that was asked of her, because she was 3 years old. One day, my father just lost it because she got stuck after the letter E. I tried to help but was reprimanded for doing so, and finally he just threw her against the wall. He started screaming the alphabet at her. He hurt her really badly and she sustained serious injuries and wound up in hospital. He did this as he repeated himself over and over. I was frozen in fear, I didn't know what to do. He finally stopped when my mother started coming upstairs. I still remember the look on her face as she picked my sister up and took both of us out of the room. She was never the same after that. The bruises went away eventually but she started having seizures. She struggled with walking upright on her own, using the bathroom without assistance. Even today, almost 3 decades later, she needs full-time care and can't live a normal life. All because my dad wanted all his kids to be geniuses instead of just one.